My parents told everyone I'd been terrorizing my disabled sister by walking too loud, so they made me wear foam slippers, walk only on special carpet runners, and follow a laminated schedule of when I was allowed to move through my own house. When that wasn't enough for Vanessa's ADHD sensory issues, they moved my bed to the garage because she said my hostile energy was traveling through the walls and making her forget everything she studied for her college exams. My parents told everyone I'd been terrorizing my disabled sister by walking too loud. This whole thing started when Vanessa came home from college after being diagnosed with ADHD. Suddenly everything triggered her. My footsteps were distracting during her online classes. I entertained her with these stupid foam slippers that made me look like a cartoon bear. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Now she's crying to mom that the vibrations from my walking are scrambling her brain, even with the slippers. She brought this whole presentation with articles about ADHD sensory processing. Mom ate it up. She spent $200 on special carpet runners and made me walk only on those specific paths through the house, like I was some kind of zoo animal following marked trails. I tried to make it work. I really did. I'd take these tiny baby steps everywhere, arms out for balance like I was on a tightrope. My friends thought I'd lost my mind when I'd tiptoe to the front door. My boyfriend dumped me because he said I was acting weird. But of course, nothing was ever good enough for Vanessa. She made a schedule, an actual laminated schedule of when I was allowed to walk in my own house. Not during my focus blocks, she said, like it was the most simple thing in the world. Except her focus blocks were from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I had to text her before leaving my room. Text my own sister for permission to pee. She started documenting everything in this binder. Times I walked without permission. Sound decibel readings from some app. She'd record me walking and play it back for our parents as evidence of my aggression. The breaking point was when she claimed my midnight walk to get water caused her to fail an exam. She said the vibrations traveled through the floorboards into her desk and made her forget everything she studied. My parents lost it. Dad installed motion sensors. Mom moved my bed to the garage. The garage. It's more private out here. You can walk around all you want. Mom bought me a space heater like that made sleeping next to gas cans okay. Even that wasn't enough for Vanessa. She had a complete meltdown, rocking back and forth on the floor with tears streaming down her face, repeating the words, "I can feel her hostile energy through the walls. I can't focus knowing she's on the property." My parents called a family meeting and told me I needed to stay with relatives until Vanessa finished her semester. She's abusing her little sister, they told everyone. She's refusing to accommodate for Vanessa's disability. It's obvious she's trying to sabotage her education. They drove me to my aunt's house that same night with 2 garbage bags of clothes. Didn't even let me pack properly, just wanted me gone. My aunt had soundproofed the guest room and gave me special slippers. My uncle handed me a business card for anger management. They kept their kids away from me like I was a monster. Sigh. 3 days later, I was using my aunt's laptop to research ADHD accommodations when I saw her email was open. I saw a receipt for Vanessa's tuition payment, but something felt wrong. The number wasn't what it should have been. My heart started racing. The next morning, I called the college pretending to be Vanessa, saying I needed enrollment verification for insurance. The lady goes, "I'm seeing you haven't been enrolled since spring 2023. You were academically dismissed." My heart stopped. 18 months. She hadn't been in school for 18 months. I dug deeper. I called my friend whose brother went to state, asked him to check if Vanessa was in any of his classes. He laughed. "Your sister? She got kicked out freshman year for plagiarism. Everyone knows that." I sat there shaking as everything clicked all at once. My aunt walked in and saw my face. "What's wrong?" I showed her everything. The enrollment office call, the texts from my friend, the timeline of when Vanessa's symptoms started, everything. My aunt called my parents immediately. Put it on speaker. "When's the last time you actually saw Vanessa's grades?" Silence. I could hear worried moans from my mom as she tried to log into the parent portal. The password didn't work because Vanessa changed it 2 years ago. Dad called the bursar's office. $60,000 in tuition payments. For nothing. She'd been pocketing it all. Turns out the walking thing was just because she needed me gone so I wouldn't question why her butt was always at home. And when they confronted her, she tried everything. "This is Ope's fault. She tried to overstimulate me and drive me insane on purpose." But this time, nobody was buying it. My parents' spam called me begging me to come home, but I ignored them. Good riddance. The next day, I went to check my student portal to register for spring classes, and that's when I saw it. Withdrawal requested by student. I frantically called the registrar. "Yes, you submitted the withdrawal form yesterday at 11:47 p.m. I knew it was Vanessa. I hung up the phone and my hands wouldn't stop shaking. Vanessa had withdrawn me from college. My own sister had logged into my account and destroyed my education while I was sleeping at my aunt's house. I called campus security right away, my voice cracking as I explained someone had accessed my student account without permission. The guy on the other end sounded bored. "Ma'am, that's a registrar issue. They open at 8 tomorrow morning." "But this is identity theft. Someone withdrew me from school. Still need to go through the registrar. Nothing we can do tonight." I wanted to throw the phone across the room. Instead, I opened my laptop and started taking screenshots of everything. The withdrawal confirmation email, the timestamp showing 11:47 p.m., the IP address at the bottom of the page. My aunt had taught me to document everything, and now I understood why. The IP address looked familiar. I compared it to an old email from my parents' computer. Same numbers. The withdrawal had been submitted from my parents' house while I was 20 miles away at my aunt's place. By 11 that night, I still couldn't sleep. My mind kept racing about what else Vanessa might have done. I logged into my email settings, something I'd never thought to check before. There it was, a forwarding rule. Every email from my college had been automatically sent to an address I didn't recognize for the past 4 months. My stomach turned as I scrolled through my sent folder and found emails I never wrote. Replies to professors saying I was dropping their classes, responses declining scholarship opportunities, even a message turning down a paid research position I'd applied for last semester. I found the original emails in my trash folder. My professors asking why I'd missed weeks of classes. The financial aid office notice warning me about my enrollment status, an invitation to join the honor society that I'd supposedly declined. Each one forwarded to Vanessa before I ever saw it. The next morning, my alarm didn't even need to go off. I'd been awake since 4, organizing every piece of evidence into folders on my laptop. My aunt drove me to campus, insisting on coming as my witness. The registrar's office had a line when they opened at 8, but I was first. The woman behind the desk looked sympathetic as I explained everything, showing her the screenshots and the IP address proof. I understand this is upsetting, she said, typing something into her computer. But to reverse a student-initiated withdrawal, we need a police report for identity theft. Plus, your department head has to approve your readmission, and you need to complete any missed coursework. How long do I have? She checked her screen. 72 hours before your spot in the program is permanently released. After that, you'd have to reapply as a new student. 72 hours, 3 days to save 4 years of education. My aunt drove straight to the police station. The officer taking my report kept frowning as I explained about Vanessa, the fake ADHD, the stolen tuition money, and now the withdrawal. Family situations are complicated, he said, not really looking at me. This could be seen as a domestic dispute rather than identity theft. Sisters share passwords sometimes. She never had my password. She must have reset it or hacked in somehow. He gave me a report number but warned it could take weeks for a detective to be assigned. Weeks I didn't have. By 2 that afternoon, I was sitting across from my department head. She'd always liked me, but her face was serious as she pulled up my records. You've missed significant coursework, she said. These emails saying you were dropping classes, the missed assignments. I can see you're a victim here, but you're looking at 4 months of work. I can do it. I just need the chance. She studied me for a long moment. If you can prove you were prevented from attending, really prove it, and complete all missed assignments within 2 weeks, I'll approve your readmission. 2 weeks for 4 months of work, but it was better than nothing. That evening, my aunt sat with me at her kitchen table as we built a timeline. Every single incident with Vanessa, every text message about the foam slippers, every photo of the carpet runners my mom had installed. My aunt had even kept the receipt for the soundproofing she'd put in my room. This is abuse, she said quietly. Clear, documented abuse. She picked up her phone. I'm calling my friend. She's a lawyer. While my aunt made calls, I remembered something. I'd been texting Ashley through everything. She'd seen it all happen in real time. Ashley answered on the first ring. Oh my god, I've been worried sick. Your parents called my mom saying you'd gone crazy and attacked Vanessa. Ashley, I need your help. Do you still have our text conversations? All of them? Every single one. Why? I explained everything. The fake ADHD, the stolen money, the withdrawal from school. Ashley went quiet for a long moment. I'm driving down tomorrow, she said, and I'm bringing my laptop. There's something strange about how quickly everyone just accepted Vanessa's complaints about footsteps causing her brain to scramble. I wonder why the parents never questioned such an extreme claim or asked for actual medical documentation beyond some printed articles. I screenshot Vanessa's Instagram stories, you know, the ones where she was at parties during her supposed sensory episodes. The lawyer came by the next morning. She reviewed everything with sharp eyes, occasionally asking questions. We have a strong case for the fraud, she said, but I need documentation of the emotional abuse too. The garage, the walking restrictions, all of it. Ashley arrived that afternoon with a thick folder of printed texts and screenshots. She also brought her witness statement, typed and notarized. The Instagram evidence was damning. Vanessa at a concert the same night she'd claimed my footsteps gave her a migraine. Vanessa at a house party 2 hours after saying she needed complete silence for studying. That evening, I decided to check our family finances more carefully. If Vanessa had stolen tuition money, what else had she done? I pulled my credit report for the first time in my life. 3 credit cards I'd never opened. $15,000 in debt, all opened in the last year with my social security number. My hands shook as I called the police station again. This time, they transferred me to a detective immediately. Credit card fraud changes things, the detective said. This is now a felony case. We'll be arresting your sister tomorrow. My aunt changed her locks that night and installed cameras the next morning. I know Vanessa, she said. This won't end quietly. She was right. My parents called the next afternoon, both of them screaming through the speakerphone. You're destroying your sister's life, Mom sobbed. How could you do this to family? She stole $60,000 and opened credit cards in my name. We'll pay for your college, Dad shouted. Every penny. Just drop the charges. My aunt grabbed my phone and hit record before I could respond. So you're trying to bribe me? It's not bribery. It's family taking care of family, Mom wailed. Vanessa made mistakes, but prison isn't the answer. I hung up and forwarded the recording to the detective. My department head emailed that evening. She'd reviewed my evidence and would approve my readmission as soon as the registrar reversed the withdrawal. The detective had expedited the police report. Everything was falling into place, but I still had to face the mountain of missed coursework. Vanessa's arrest happened the next morning. I didn't watch, but apparently she'd tried to run and had to be tackled in the front yard. Her mugshot was online within hours. Mascara streaked down her face, her expression twisted in rage. My phone exploded with messages. Old high school classmates, distant relatives. Some supported me, but others called me heartless. She's your sister, they said. Like that excused everything. Then Daniel texted, Vanessa's ex-boyfriend from last year. I have information you need to see. Can we meet? We met at a coffee shop near campus. Daniel looked tired but determined as he pulled out his phone. She used to brag about this stuff, he said, showing me text after text. Vanessa laughing about making me walk in foam slippers. Vanessa explaining how she'd convinced our parents I was aggressive. Vanessa sending him fake grade reports she'd created in Photoshop. Why didn't you tell anyone? I tried telling your parents when we broke up. They said I was just bitter. He forwarded everything to me. More evidence for the prosecutor. That evening, my parents showed up at my aunt's house. Dad pounded on the door while Mom cried dramatically on the lawn. My aunt wouldn't let them in. Open this door, Dad shouted. She's our daughter. The neighbors called the police. 2 officers showed up and gave my parents a trespassing warning. They had to leave or face arrest. The next morning, I submitted everything to the registrar with 36 hours to spare. The woman who'd helped me before fast-tracked it through the system. You're officially re-enrolled, she said, printing out my confirmation. information. Good luck with the coursework. 4 months of assignments in 2 weeks. I did the math. If I worked 18 hours a day, I might make it. But first, Vanessa made bail. She immediately went online, posting old photos of us as kids with long captions about how her beloved sister had turned on her when she developed a disability. She claimed I was jealous of the attention she got for her ADHD. She said I was the one who'd been abusive, that she'd only been trying to survive my campaign of terror. People who didn't know the truth started sharing her posts. Disability discrimination is real, they commented. Her sister is a monster. Then something unexpected happened. Dr. Lauren Reeds, a well-known ADHD specialist, contacted me through my university email. I've seen your sister's posts, she wrote. What she's describing isn't consistent with ADHD. I'm concerned about the stigma this is creating for actual ADHD patients. Would you be willing to let me examine her claims? Pro bono, of course. I forwarded the email to the lawyer, who loved the idea. Meanwhile, Ashley basically moved into her apartment's living room with me. We set up a homework station with 2 laptops, a printer, and enough energy drinks to stock a convenience store. She took notes while I wrote papers. She organized research while I completed problem sets. 18 hours down, 6 to go, she'd say at midnight, forcing me to take breaks. My professors had been understanding once they learned the truth. Some even extended deadlines by a few days, but it was still brutal. My eyes burned, my fingers cramped. I dreamed about citations and formulas. On day 10 of the homework marathon, just as I was starting to break down from exhaustion, Ashley showed up with reinforcements. 3 classmates from my program came to help. They'd heard what happened and wanted to support me. Nobody should lose their education because of family abuse, one of them said. We worked in shifts. Someone was always brewing coffee. Someone was always proofreading. Someone was always there to talk me through the next assignment when my brain felt like mush. By day 11, my brain felt like it had been put through a blender, but we were close. So close. The stack of completed assignments kept growing while the to-do list finally started shrinking. That evening at 9, I was reviewing my last statistics problem set when my phone buzzed with an Instagram notification. Strange, I'd barely touched social media in weeks. The message was from an account I didn't recognize. Butterfly Girl 2024. My blood went cold as I read it. You think you won? I'll destroy you. Drop the charges or I'll make what happened before look like nothing. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Remember, I know everything about you. Every password you've ever used, every secret you've ever told me. This isn't over. The typing pattern, the threats, the mention of passwords, it was Vanessa. She wasn't supposed to contact me at all. That was part of her bail conditions. I screenshot everything immediately and forwarded it to the prosecutor. Within an hour, the detective called. She violated her bail. We're picking her up now. Vanessa went back to jail that night. This time, no bail. 2 days later, I submitted my final assignment with 24 hours to spare. Ashley and I sat in her apartment staring at the confirmation email from my last professor. 4 months of work completed in 14 days. You did it, Ashley said, but I was too tired to celebrate. I just wanted to sleep for a week. The next afternoon, the parents' lawyer contacted me. They'd hired someone expensive who wanted to meet about resolving this family matter without further legal action. The lawyer came with me to the meeting. The expensive lawyer sat across from us in his fancy office, trying to look sympathetic. Your parents are prepared to make you whole, he said, sliding a check across the table. Full tuition reimbursement plus damages. In exchange, you drop all charges and sign this non-disclosure agreement. I looked at the check. $200,000. No, I said. He blinked. Perhaps you don't understand. I understand perfectly. They want to buy their way out of accountability. 2 hours later, we were in court. My parents had filed for a restraining order against me, claiming I was harassing them and endangering Vanessa's mental health. The judge read through their petition with raised eyebrows. Then he looked at our evidence, the garage photos, the motion sensor receipts, the recording of them trying to bribe me. This restraining order is denied, he said firmly. And frankly, Mr. and Mrs. Coleman, you're lucky you're not facing charges yourselves for witness tampering. My parents left the courtroom without looking at me. That same afternoon, I got calls from all 3 credit card companies. The fraud department had completed their investigation. The debt would be removed, but the damage to my credit score would last for years. No apartment would rent to me, no car loan, nothing. I have a spare room, Ashley said when I told her. Seriously, my roommate just moved out. It's yours if you want it. 3 days later, Dr. Reeds called with her evaluation results. She'd spent 6 hours testing Vanessa in jail. Your sister shows no neurological signs of ADHD, she said carefully. However, she does display clear indicators of antisocial personality disorder. The symptoms she claimed, feeling vibrations through walls, brain scrambling from footsteps. These are medically impossible. I'll testify to this. I thanked her and hung up, feeling strangely empty. Part of me had hoped maybe Vanessa really did have something wrong, something that explained everything. But no, she was just cruel. The next morning, I turned in my last makeup assignment with a day to spare. My GPA held at 3.8. One of my professors even offered me a paid research position for the next semester. You've shown remarkable resilience, he said. I could use someone with your determination on my team. Finally, some income. Credit cards in her name, Instagram party photos during sensory episodes, and parents offering bribes like they're bidding on eBay. Vanessa's playing fraud bingo and hitting every square while her parents enable the whole circus act. I accepted immediately. A week later, the prosecutor called. Vanessa had been offered a plea deal. 2 years probation, community service, and full restitution if she pleaded guilty to fraud and identity theft. She refused. The prosecutor said she wants a trial. Says she's going to prove you drove her to it. When? Next month. You'll need to testify. The news of a trial split my extended family down the middle. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. You're sending your own sister to prison, my uncle yelled through the phone. She's sick and needs help, not jail, my cousin texted, but others supported me. My mom's sister called to say she'd suspected something was wrong for years. My dad's brother offered to testify about the Christmas dinner where Vanessa had laughed about having the whole family wrapped around her finger. I stopped answering calls from anyone except my aunt and the legal team. Ashley helped me prepare for testifying. We'd sit in her living room while she played prosecutor prosecutor, asking me the hardest questions she could think of. Why didn't you call the police when you were moved to the garage? I point. I thought it was my fault, that I really was too loud. Again, Ashley said, without apologizing for existing. We practiced for hours until I could tell my story without my voice shaking. 2 weeks before the trial, my parents tried again, this time through my aunt. They're offering to pay for everything, my aunt said, showing me the text. Full college costs, therapy, a new car. They say Vanessa is suicidal in jail. I called the prosecutor immediately. This is witness tampering, she said. I'll handle it. My parents got a formal warning from the judge. One more attempt and they'd face charges themselves. I started therapy the next week. The therapist specialized in family trauma and gaslighting victims. You were systematically abused, she said in our first session. The walking restrictions were just the visible part. This started much earlier. She was right. Looking back, Vanessa had been controlling the family narrative for years. Every story got twisted. Every conflict became my fault. I'd been trained to doubt my own reality. We'll work on recognizing manipulation, the therapist said, and setting boundaries that protect you. A week before the trial, Vanessa's public defender filed a motion for my medical records, claiming I had mental health issues that made me an unreliable witness. The judge only allowed records from the relevant time period. All they found was documentation of stress-related insomnia from sleeping in a garage. Your medical records actually help our case, the prosecutor told me. Daniel agreed to testify and brought a box of evidence I hadn't known existed. Receipts showing Vanessa shopping for designer bags the same day I was moved to the garage, text messages where she bragged about getting a free ride, a video from a party where she joked about making me walk in foam slippers. I kept everything after we broke up, he said. I knew someday people would need to know the truth. The day before the trial, I moved in with Ashley. We spent the morning setting up my room, hanging pictures, making it feel like home. After months of instability, I finally had somewhere safe. That evening, Vanessa's friends drove by slowly, taking pictures of the apartment building. Ashley got it all on her security camera. Let them try something, she said. We're ready. My mom sent one last email that night. A long, rambling message about how I was destroying the family legacy, how she'd failed as a mother, how she knew something was off with Vanessa but wanted to believe her. Not once did she apologize for making me sleep in a garage. The next morning, the college newspaper ran a story about the case after court documents became public. My phone lit up with messages from students. She cheated off me in biology, one wrote. She stole my laptop and said I lost it, wrote another. She told everyone I was stalking her when I caught her lying about being in the honor society. Story after story of Vanessa's lies and manipulation. The prosecutor added them to her evidence file. Trial day arrived gray and drizzly. I wore my most professional outfit and tried to keep my hands from shaking. Ashley drove me to the courthouse. You've got this, she said. Just tell the truth. The first surprise came during jury selection. Vanessa stood up and announced she was firing her public defender. I'll represent myself, she said confidently. No one knows my story better than me. The judge looked at her over his glasses. Ms. Coleman, I strongly advise against this. You're facing serious charges. I understand, Your Honor, but I know the truth better than any lawyer. The judge sighed and allowed it. Day 2 of the trial, I took the stand. For 4 hours, I told everything. The foam slippers, the carpet runners, the walking schedule, the garage. My voice stayed steady as I described finding the withdrawal confirmation, discovering the forwarded emails, learning about the credit cards. Vanessa kept interrupting. Objection. She's lying. Ms. Coleman, you can't object to testimony. You'll have your chance to cross-examine. When I described finding out about her expulsion, 18 months of lies, Vanessa jumped up. You ruined everything, she screamed. Everything was perfect until you had to dig around. The judge threatened to remove her from the courtroom. Then came Vanessa's cross-examination. She approached me with papers clutched in her hands. Isn't it true that you walked loudly on purpose? Number, but you admit you walked? Yes, I walked in my own home. Aha! She turned to the jury like she'd won something. She admits it. The jury looked confused. And isn't it true you were jealous of my academic success? You were expelled for plagiarism. I wasn't asking about that. She fumbled through her questions for an hour, accidentally admitting she'd changed my passwords, that she'd forwarded my emails, that she'd only spent some of the tuition money. Ashley testified next, showing our text conversations on a big screen. The jury saw everything in real time. My confusion, my desperation, my slow realization of the truth. Daniel testified about Vanessa's bragging, showing receipts and messages. Dr. Reeds explained in clinical detail why Vanessa's claimed symptoms were medically impossible and inconsistent with any known neurological condition. The evidence was overwhelming. Day 3, my parents took the stand. They tried to minimize everything, but the prosecutor had receipts. Is this your credit card statement showing the purchase of motion sensors? Yes, but is this your receipt for the space heater for the garage? We wanted her to be comfortable. In the garage, next to gas cans. Dad finally admitted he'd never actually seen Vanessa have a sensory episode. Mom admitted she'd never verified Vanessa's enrollment status. On day 4, Vanessa took the stand in her own defense. It was a disaster. She claimed I'd been jealous since childhood. She admitted taking the money but said she deserved it for the trauma I'd caused. She insisted her ADH was real despite Dr. Reeds' testimony. She accidentally confessed to the credit card fraud while trying to explain it away. I only use them for necessities. Clothes are necessities. Trips are mental health care. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. We find the defendant guilty on all counts. Vanessa screamed that I was dead to her as the bailiffs led her away. My parents left without looking at me. I thought I'd feel victorious. Instead, I just felt empty. Ashley drove me home in silence. I stared out the window at people going about their normal lives, grabbing coffee, walking dogs, having conversations that weren't about fraud and family betrayal. The emptiness sat heavy in my chest like a stone. You did the right thing, Ashley said finally as we pulled into the apartment complex. I nodded, but the words felt meaningless. Right and wrong seemed too simple for what had just happened. For the next week, I went through the motions, attended classes, started my research job, cooked dinner with Ashley, but everything felt distant, like I was watching someone else else's life through foggy glass. The sentencing hearing came on a Thursday morning. I wore the same professional outfit, but this time my hands didn't shake. Vanessa stood in an orange jumpsuit, her hair flat against her head, no makeup to hide the dark circles under her eyes. The judge reviewed the charges: fraud, identity theft, credit card fraud, witness intimidation. Each count carried potential years. Ms. Coleman, he said to Vanessa, do you have anything to say before sentencing? She stood up straight. My sister destroyed our family out of jealousy. I needed that money for my medical treatment. She refused to accommodate my disability, and now she's sending me to prison for being sick. The judge's expression didn't change. Ms. Coleman, multiple experts have testified that you have no disability requiring accommodation. You stole over $75,000, including credit fraud. You attempted to destroy your sister's education and future. He sentenced her to 3 years in state prison with mandatory restitution of all stolen funds plus damages. I hope you use this time to reflect on your choices, he said. Vanessa turned to look at me one last time. You destroyed this family, she said clearly. I hope you're happy. The bailiffs led her away. My parents had come this time, sitting in the back row. Mom was crying silently. Dad's jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscles jumping. They left without a word. The next morning, I went to the phone store with Ashley. The clerk transferred my contacts while I watched my old number disappear from the screen. 10 years of that number, gone. But it felt necessary, like closing a door. Wow, the way Vanessa kept accidentally confessing things while trying to defend herself is mind-blowing. How did she think saying clothes are necessities and trips are mental health care would help her case? I blocked my parents on everything. Email, social media, even LinkedIn. My aunt helped me file the restitution paperwork, warning it would take years to see any real money. Prison wages are about $1 an hour, she explained, but at least it's something. 2 weeks later, my aunt forwarded a letter from my parents. They were selling the house to pay for Vanessa's appeal lawyer, moving to Florida to start fresh. The letter blamed me for choosing revenge over family and said they'd pray for my soul. I threw it in the trash without responding. My research job kept me busy. We were studying memory formation in trauma victims. Ironic, considering my situation, but the work felt meaningful. Every data point, every analysis, building towards something that might help someone else. You're one of my strongest research assistants, my professor told me one afternoon. Your attention to detail is exceptional. I wanted to tell him it came from years of documenting Vanessa's lies, but I just said thank you. Spring semester flew by in a blur of classes, research, and therapy sessions. The therapist helped me work through the guilt that kept creeping in during quiet moments. Guilt is common in abuse victims, she said. You were trained to prioritize your sister's needs over your own safety. It takes time to unlearn that. Some nights I'd wake up thinking I heard footsteps above me, then remember I lived on the top floor now. My body was still trained for hypervigilance. 2 months after sentencing, Vanessa's appeal was denied. The evidence was too overwhelming. She was transferred to the State Women's Correctional Facility 3 hours away. Some of her old friends reached out to apologize for believing her lies about me. We should have known, one wrote. She lied about everything else too. I forgave some of them but kept my distance. Trust didn't come easily anymore. My therapist helped me write a victim impact statement for the restitution hearing. We spent 3 sessions on it, carefully documenting the financial and emotional damage, the garage, the lost semester, the credit destruction, the therapy costs. The judge ordered Vanessa to pay $100,000 total, the stolen tuition, the credit card debt, and damages for emotional distress. At prison wages, it would take decades. It's not about the money, the therapist reminded me. It's about accountability. A TV producer called the next week, saying they wanted to make a documentary about sibling fraud and family betrayal. They offered good money for my participation. Your story could help other victims, she said. No, I told her. I need to move forward, not backward. She called 3 more times before giving up. May arrived with final exams and graduation preparations. Ashley helped me pick out a cap and gown, insisted on taking pictures even though I felt weird celebrating. You earned this, she said. Despite everything, you finished. My aunt and uncle came to graduation, along with Ashley and even Daniel. We'd become friends through the trial. Trauma bonding, the therapist called it. They cheered when I walked across the stage, my honors cord swaying with each step. The seats where my parents should have been stayed empty. I tried not to look at them. The next morning, I opened my email to find an acceptance letter from a graduate program across the country. Full scholarship, research assistantship, a complete fresh start where nobody knew my story. Take it, Ashley said immediately. You need this. I accepted that afternoon. 6 weeks later, my aunt called with news. My grandmother, my dad's mom, had died. Heart attack in her sleep. The funeral is Thursday, my aunt said carefully. Your parents told everyone you're not welcome. They're saying you've joined a cult. A cult? I laughed, but it came out bitter. That's their story. Easier than explaining the truth. Vanessa got supervised release to attend the funeral. My cousin sent me pictures. Her in a black dress and ankle monitor, crying dramatically at the graveside while my parents held her. The extended family gathering around them like nothing had happened. I stayed home and looked through old photos of grandma instead. She'd always been kind to me, but distant. Now I wondered what stories my parents had told her about me over the years. The first restitution check arrived a week later. $5,000. A tiny fraction of what was owed, but it was something. I used part for therapy, part for moving costs. Put the rest in savings. August came fast. I packed everything I owned into a small trailer. Ashley helped me load boxes, both of us trying not to cry. You'll visit, she said, and I'll come see you. Of course. But we both knew it would be different. The drive across country took 4 days. I stopped at random motels, ate at truck stops, watched the landscape change from familiar to foreign. With each mile, the weight on my chest lifted slightly. My new roommate in grad school talked constantly about her research in plant biology. The second week, she mentioned how quietly I walked. It's like you're not even there sometimes, she said, laughing. I forced myself to walk normally after that, each footstep a small act of rebellion against old habits. It took months to feel natural again. The program was demanding, but in a good way. Nobody knew about Vanessa or the trial or the garage. I was just another grad student studying studying neuroscience, staying late in the lab, drinking too much coffee. 3 months into the semester, a letter arrived forwarded from my aunt's address. Vanessa's handwriting on the envelope made my stomach clench. Inside, 3 pages of Vanessa's neat handwriting. She forgave me for betraying her. She understood I was manipulated by others into testifying. She hoped someday I'd realize what I'd done and visit her so she could forgive me in person. Not one word of apology, not one acknowledgement of what she'd done. I burned it in the lab's Bunsen burner during a late-night experiment. Watched the pages curl and blacken until nothing remained but ash. December brought another surprise. A Christmas card from my parents with a check for $1,000. "We'll always love you despite everything," they wrote. "Perhaps someday you'll understand family is more important than being right." I stared at that check for a long time. $1,000 would help with expenses, but taking it felt like accepting their version of events. I donated it to a domestic abuse shelter instead. Sent them the receipt with no other message. Spring semester started with me teaching undergraduate biology labs. Standing in front of 18-year-olds, explaining mitosis and cell division felt surreal. Some were older than Vanessa had been when she started her lies. One girl stayed after class in March. She fidgeted with her notebook, not making eye contact. "My sister says I'm making her sick," she said quietly. "She says my breathing is too loud when I study. My parents want me to move to the basement." My chest tightened. I recognized the look in her eyes, confusion mixed with self-doubt. "That's not normal," I told her carefully. "Breathing doesn't make people sick." She started crying. "But she has anxiety. The doctor said I need to be supportive." I gave her information about gaslighting, about emotional abuse, about documenting everything. Told her about the counseling center on campus. "Someone believes me?" she whispered. "I believe you." She left with her shoulders a little straighter. I hoped she'd be okay. That afternoon, I walked back to my office with heavy, deliberate footsteps. My boots echoed in the hallway. A colleague looked up, startled by the noise. "Sorry," he said. "Didn't hear you coming. You're usually so quiet." "Not anymore," I said. I walked louder after that. Let my footsteps announce my presence. Let them echo and reverberate. Each step a declaration that I existed, that I had the right to take up space, to make noise in my own life. Thanks for listening along while I wondered about things with you. It's been quite the journey together. See you around, friends. If you made it to the end, drop a comment. I love reading all your comments.